Congressman, I want to start with big tech because this week, four top CEOs from Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Apple all got on the Hill answering questions. You were pretty straightforward with the CEO of Google, particularly about their company's willingness to help the Chinese while rejecting helping the American military. Explain what in the heck is going on with an American company that seems more interested in China than the Department of Defense for the United States.
I have to tell you, I was very surprised. I was reading documents, and the CEO of Google said that they would not participate in the JEDI contract with the U.S. Department of Defense because the U.S. military did not share their values. And yet they have worked to get into the Chinese market. They have compromised. They have worked with the Chinese to the point where the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff testified in the Senate Armed Services Committee that the work that Google was doing in China was directly benefiting their military. That's scary, and it really isn't something that we should tolerate as consumers in this country.
Congressman, I would wonder, what are the values of Google if they're not the values of the United States Department of Defense that protects all of us, including protecting Google? What are their values, and how do you get a response to that from Google?
Well, I asked them, I speculated that perhaps they share the Chinese Communist Party's values, that the Chinese Communist Party imprisons Uyghur minorities and forces them into slave labor. Maybe that's one of Google's values, or perhaps their values are the suppression of free speech in Hong Kong, or maybe Google thinks that the way that the Chinese Communist Party handled the spread of COVID and created a worldwide pandemic is a value that Google shares. I think that one thing they have in common with China is their corporate espionage and the Chinese corporate espionage. That is one of the common values they have with China.
This was a rare moment of bipartisanship in that committee because Democrats were unhappy with the anti-competitive nature, as were Republicans. And also there's a lot of concern about a very marked and obvious bias against conservative content on many of these platforms. How can you deal with it? What can you do to help challenge this and fix it?
I have to tell you, Governor, you're absolutely right that it was clear that both sides had problems with these CEOs and their companies, but a much different problem. The Democrats have a problem with big. Republicans don't believe that big is necessarily bad, but we have a problem with the bias that is being demonstrated by these monopolies, with the invasion of privacy that is being demonstrated by these monopolies, and with the suppression of innovation in the marketplace that's being demonstrated by these monopolies.
Do you see antitrust action being one of the solutions, literally breaking them up, like we remember the old AT&T breakup of the early 80s? Is that where we're headed with all this?
You know, it's a great question because Congress's role is to make sure that we have laws that give the regulators the tools that they need to do their job. And then we have to also make sure that they have the resources they need to do their job. It's up to the regulators. It's up to the Federal Trade Commission and the Antitrust Division at the Department of Justice to make the decision whether they should bring a case against these companies to break them up, to punish them in some way for anti-competitive behavior in mergers and acquisitions, or a whole host of other issues that I know these two agencies are looking at.
You were also in another rather contentious committee hearing this week involving Attorney General Bill Barr. Congressman, I have to just say it straight out. I've never seen such a spectacle of the Democrats asking a question and refusing to even allow the beginning of an answer before screaming they wanted to reclaim their time.
I thought it was ridiculous also. Chairman Goodlatte was the chairman of the Judiciary Committee for my first 4 years in Congress. And Chairman Goodlatte would always let the witness answer a question when the time ran out. That wasn't allowed with Attorney General Barr, and it was sad because the Attorney General had some very good explanations, and I think the American people were misled about some of the activities that are going on in our country.
A couple of projects that you're involved in I want to be able to touch on. One is an HBO documentary called The Swamp. You, Matt Gaetz, and Congressman Thomas Massie have been tracked over the past year. I'm anxious to hear about what we'll be able to see in that documentary.
I wrote a book 3 years ago called Drain the Swamp, and a lot of the concept of the book, the corruption in Congress, the fact that both parties are involved in this bipartisan bankruptcy is included in the book and included in this documentary. I just don't know exactly what parts they're going to use from any of the people that they followed.
And a book that you have coming out called Capital of Freedom, when does it come out? And I hope it also deals with some of those issues that you have been a champion of for the American people.
It does, actually. The book comes out on Tuesday, August 4th, and I'm really excited about this book. I write a book about how the obvious parts of the Capitol, the features, represent constitutional principles, and how the progressives have moved away from those constitutional principles. They're trying to cancel our culture. They're trying to deny our history, rewrite our history, because they can't get us to this socialist, godless country that they're trying to create without bypassing the Constitution in some way.
Sounds like a terrific book. I hope our audience will order it. It comes out this week. Capital of Freedom by Congressman Ken Buck. Congressman, thank you for joining us. A delight to have you and hope to have you back soon.